Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first episode of Synergy. I am your host, Havoc, and I've had Bella round up some hexperts. So let's introduce them. First up, we've got Armies.
Greetings and salutations.
Secondly, we've got Fridged.
All right. This is Fridge, host of the hit TV show at twitch.tv/FridgeHex and Limited God.
You dingus. And last but not least, we've got Nero.
Hello, I got up from my nap, and it's all Havoc's fault.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, let's get on with the show. So let's introduce what the show is all about. So here we go. Let's have a look. So, first of all, the show is about, obviously, synergy. So we're wanting to explore synergy through various cards interacting with one another. Each episode is going to have a focus on a specific card. I'm not going to reveal today's episode's card just yet. That'll happen in a second. We're going to be talking about the pros and cons of various synergies within the card and interactions with other cards. We're going to have some gameplay examples, and then we're going to have some featured deck lists that you'll be able to try out for yourselves as well. So let's get on to the next screen here. We've got our little friendly augmentation bot. Now, he gave us a formula, which we did manage to decipher, and we found out exactly what's his definition anyway of synergy. So, it's the interaction or cooperation of two or more organizations, substances, or other agents to produce a combined effect greater than the sum of their individual effects. So simply put, if you look at HEX, it's a combination of having two or more cards, or in the case of HEX, that's not entirely true. I'll get to that in a minute. But two or more cards combining together to make their effects greater. They complement each other. So let's get on to an example here. So I did say two or more cards. It's not entirely true though. So you can have a card with HEX. You've got sockets, and because of that, you can actually have a card that synergizes with that socketable power. And in this case, we've got the Eldritch Streamer. I'll let Nero explain.
So, Eldritch Dreamer is a major socket troop when unblockable. The most common gem we socket with is the major Sapphire Wild, which allows you to draw a card when that troop deals damage to an opposing champion. So, since he can't be blocked, the only way he's not going to get through is if he's removed somehow. So you basically get a free draw every turn. And the gym is double Sapphire Threshold, he's double Sapphire Threshold, so it's not like it's any more clunky, it's completely natural, and it's better than what you had before.
Yeah, so a very good example of synergy. Now, again, how I mentioned, it's generally you're going to talk about two or more cards, synergizing together to make them better than their individual effects. We've also got champions. That also is another way you can synergize cards with your champions. But let's go on to a video example now, and we'll have Armies talk about this.
Before you go on.
Oh, sorry. Yep. Go ahead.
I'd just like to point out through the multiple recordings of this that I've had time to become intimately familiar with this art, and it's terrifying. It's like a combination of Cthulhu and Hellraiser.
It really indeed is good artwork. Yeah, one of my favorites from set one in terms of artwork, especially that artist. So yeah, anyway, let's go on to the next bit here. We got a video example. Armies is going to talk about the synergy we're seeing here.
Alright, so we're playing a Sapphire Ruby deck. The main synergy in this deck is the Azure Fate Sorceress that is socketed with direct damage and quick. You use that to play around sorcery speed removal from the opponent, basic actions. It also is quite good against counter magics and things because you can make your opponent use them during their turn. So that's always nice. And the main synergy of this deck is to play the Azure Fate during your opponent's turn, dodging the removal, and then have Reese surface afterwards. And then Reese will get inspired by the Azure Fate Sorceress, as that's the Azure Fate Sorceress ability. Reese will get direct damage when it comes into play. And then we have another card in our hand that works really well with that, and that's Replicator's Trance, which will make a copy of a troop that dealt damage to the opponent this turn. And if the opponent doesn't deal with any of these threats immediately, they will pretty much just instantly die or die the following turn.
Thanks for that, Army. So we're about to see here the Reese untunneling. Then we'll see that direct damage happen. So we're going to see 4 damage into the champion here of Crannock. And now we have the option. There's a few options you could take here. You could immediately just use the charge power and hope to get some really big robots, say like Tectonic Mega Hulk, and then you can just trance it immediately. And that pretty much will be game over for pretty much any opponent at this stage of the game. You could also, due to how Reese works and how Replicator's trance works, you can actually just copy Reese as I think we do in this example. We're about to find out. The cursor is still deciding. But, no, right, of course. You want to do the robot first because you want to see if you get that big one. You want to see how lucky you are. In this case, we just get an Axebot, so 2 damage. So then the right choice here is to now Replicator's trance the Reese. Now, what will happen there is because Reese is unique and Replicator's trance makes a replica, which is a robot copy, so it's an artifact, loses the unique tag, so you can actually have 2 into play. You're still going to get the free robot at the end of turn, and then Reese will give you one as well, and thanks to the original Reese here that we had untunnel, they're both going to be random robots, so we'll get 2 of those at the end of the turn. So we'll see what we get, and potentially it could be just game over right here, based on Crannock being at 8 health. So
I would say the average time to live for an opponent after this combo goes off is about 2 turns. Often, yes, as you said, just an instant kill.
One of the really good things about this as well is you don't actually need to win through combat. You can just sit back, let those robots pop out, and you know, hold open counter magics, whatever. Attack in while you can, if you even need to, and just let the free robots kill your opponent, or even play out another Azure Fate to increase the damage there. But we got a Charge Hulk and a Mimeobot, not the best 2 examples. We'll see how this one's going to end. The AI there playing some pretty big dudes, but not really a big deal. And we got a burn there, so can't quite finish the opponent. Let's see what the last robot is. It is indeed the Tectonic Mega Hulk. So it would have been nice to trance that, as that would have been game over when that, you know, if that popped out earlier as the first robot. But that's the ideal scenario you want to get. That's the troop you hope for. Obviously, there's other good troops like a Jankbot is still nice. It's not going to kill your opponent straight away like a Mega Hulk would. But there is a good example of some synergy there. So you got the Azure Fate and Reese. That's quite a common combo. But we added in the Replicator trance there as a bit of fun. Not really a card you see much play. But now we're going to take a look at today's card, the episode, this episode's card. So we saw Replicator's trance.
I'm so excited!
Oh, hype! So we saw the trance there, Replicator's trance. Let's go look at its younger brother or older brother, I don't know. But it's Replicator's Gambit, my favorite set 1 card. Here it is in all its glory. So we'll let Nero talk about the card here. Let's introduce it and read out what it does. So take it away, Nero.
So Replicator's Gambit is a 1-cost basic action, single Sapphire Threshold card that puts a troop you control back into your deck and adds a text when it enters play, create 6 replicas and put them into play. You also draw a card when you play Replicator's Gambit. So although it does remove a troop from the board, Gambit does replace itself. Hopefully you'll have either a board where you can defend yourself, or you'll have interplay abilities to work with it. But overall, it can have issues against aggressive decks due to losing that body. It also is vulnerable to removal and interrupts. And you, of course, against mill, if they mill out the card you Gambit, you kind of lose your win con. But overall, it can surprise your opponent because it is very cheap. So you can do some interesting on-curve combos, which we'll get to later. It's also another card that makes robot replicas, which is important for uniques, and also there are certain combinations where robots actually matter coming out. And it has some other interesting combos with value troops like Buccaneer, Corpse Fly, and things, just because you get a lot of those triggers, which can put you ahead.
Thank you, Nero. So one thing I'll add there is, you brought up a good point there. Obviously, because of its cheap casting cost, you can actually do this very early in the game. So you could potentially play out a 1-drop and then use this the next turn, or even, you know, play out a troop the turn 2 and use it the same turn. And that, you know, your opponent is, especially if you're on the play, your opponent is unlikely going to be able to stop that. So then you've got that win condition in the deck. And there's a certain card that we'll get to that your opponent will then be very afraid of if it's in there. And that, just gambiting a troop, doesn't matter what it is generally, if you're using, you know, depending on how your deck is constructed, if you've got that really good threat in your deck, you actually will change the way your opponent plays. They're going to feel under pressure when that's in there. So what will happen, if they're running, say, things like counter magics and stuff like that, they then have to actually think twice about using it on something that isn't your target that you've put in your deck. Because then, if they've only got the one, and they use it on something else, and then you know, play out your win condition, then, well, then they've lost the game. So it actually will make them think twice, and that puts a lot of pressure on your opponent. So, any comments you would like to add there, Fridged?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to go over some of the pros and cons. The big con that I feel like with the Replicator's Gambit deck, and the reason that people have been afraid to run it, say, in a major tournament, is there will be, over the course of a large number of rounds, the occasional time that the Replicator's Gambit target will just hide itself on the bottom of your deck. So I think that's the major reason, even though the deck is quite consistent, that people have not been running it lately. And also, it's there in the list, but the fact that it removes a troop from the board, sometimes you just cannot afford to lose the troop. Now, there are times that you can mitigate that by using, say, a Buccaneer to bounce something and get the utility out of the Buccaneer, or, say, a Phoenix Guard Messenger where you draw an extra card, and therefore you're not down cards overall. So there are definitely great troops to use with the Replicator's Gambit, but I feel like the fear is strong out there in the HEX community with regards to this particular card.
Thank you. Armies, anything you would like to add?
It's one of the few cards in the game that can net you a turn 2 kill with superb luck.
That is indeed true. All right, let's go. Well, first, before we head on over to the cards that we want to use with this, the ones that synergize well, let's look at the better artwork here. There's the Replicator's Gambit alternate art. A lot better than the default there. Very awesome. We got the guy over here to the right, but yeah, I much prefer this. I think most people do, over the Shattered Glass. But yeah, they're both nice, but this one I think has a lot more impact to it and just generally more badass. All right, let's get over to those. First, we're going to take a look at set 1 cards. So here we go. First up, I mean, we've already mentioned Buccaneer. It's obviously a very good troop in the fact that you get the effect, you know, troops with end-to-play effects shine with Gambit, especially Buccaneer as well, is because it's not really a threat itself. It's, you know, only a 2/2, pretty weak, but you're mainly using it for its utility of bouncing something to your opponent's hand, so then you don't mind generally, unless you are against some super aggro deck, you know, putting this back in your deck to then become a win con. So we're going to take a look at a video here, and we'll have Armies, again, just go over the pros and cons. Not that I think there's many cons, up there's the alternate artwork as well. We'll get to the video here, so Armies, take it away, talk about the pros and cons of the Gambit and Buccaneer combination.
Well, the main pro for Buccaneer is that it slows the game down. You can bounce their biggest threats, set them back a turn, so that gives you time to set up your combo. The main weakness of Buccaneer would be against decks that either are not playing troops, so they don't care about the bounce effect, or they're playing almost everything with Spell Shield. Because then, even if you Gambit the Buccaneer, 7 2/2s might, their opponent might not care if they've got a field full of spell shielded, inspired, like Azure Fates and Master Mosses and things. Like, if they have enough blockers that it just doesn't matter, Buccaneer is not the best Gambit target.
Yeah, you make a good point there. So if your opponent did have something like Soul Marble, you know, you may not be able to win with it. Since if they have a board full of troops, it doesn't matter how many Buccaneers you play, you're not going to be able to send any of those back to the hand, as we're about to see here with the Buccaneer, you know, being replayed now after being gambited. It's now going to bounce the troops to the hand. Now, if these were, as Armies mentioned, were Spell Shield troops, so if Soul Marble or something was in play, then would not be able to do that. Now, you know, it's not many troops, so it probably wouldn't matter in this case, and we could do a trick that's probably about to happen here, which is sending the main one back to your hand, the one that was gambited, to then replay again. So you can just flood the board with heaps of Buccaneers as long as you have the resources, and then just keep doing it while sending the main one again back to your hand for security purposes mainly. So if your opponent, in this case, we're against Ruby, so a possible heat wave could just blow us out completely since we're not able to attack immediately since it doesn't have speed. But yeah, by sending it back to your hand, you're basically ensuring that if you do get your troops wiped from the board, be it via extinction or heat wave or something like that, then you can just replay it again and do it all over again basically. So as you can see here, not much the opponent can do against this sort of situation. So we'll just let this finish off here. Basically, we're just going to see a swing of the Buccaneer, all the Buccaneers, I should say, hitting in for the win. Nero, anything you would like to add for this combination?
It is one of my favorite combinations, although it doesn't win as fast as other ones. Bounce is very important in Hex with a lot of the cards that are used, and also the only issue I have with it is a 3-cost card, so you're not gambiting till turn 4, and turn 4 is very, very important in Hex, so that's the only issue I really have with it.
Yep, that's a good point. Fridged, anything you would like to add?
Just that we're providing an excellent example here of synergy. I mean, the way we're all just working together right now, we're like 4 best friends baking a cake.
I mean, now I want some cake. Are you actually making a cake? 'Cause I really wouldn't mind some cake.
I tried to bake the cake in the first recording, but it's been so long between them that the cake is now fallen and ruined. So thanks a lot. I have to eat this hockey puck.
Well, alright, well, let's go on to our next card here. We've got the War Machinist. Now, that is one of the troops we alluded to as being something you could do very quickly, and it's a very, very big, powerful effect once you replay it. It does have some downsides, so we'll get to the video. We'll get the video playing here, and we'll let Fridged take it away and talk about the pros and cons of the War Machinist.
Well, the War Machinist here is absolutely one of my favorite Replicator's Gambit targets. Now, I'll just go into that very briefly. The fact is that I do not love the Buccaneer because it is still possible. It's very hard to lose once you get that Replicator's Gambit target, but with things like the Buccaneer, it is very possible for your opponent to just have the perfect draw and burn, or through some combination of Spell, Shield, and Grauk, just finish you off even through the Replicator's Gambited target. War Machinist does not allow your opponent that opportunity, because if they've gained enough life to survive through it, then they probably killed you already. This is absolutely, I think, one of the things that is key to this deck is the ability to just kill your opponent as soon as you resolve the target. The War Machinist does armies. Could you tell me how much damage the War Machinist does when it's working properly?
When it's working properly, each of the War Machinists, that's 7 War Machinists, will see 6 artifacts into play, and 42 damage will be dealt to your opponent.
Boom! Thank you, Arm.
Well, so that was 42, was it?
Yeah, 42. 7 times 6.
Thank you. Alright, so, and the cons. Now, the War Machinist does have some cons, so Fridge, would you like to go over those? Well, its main one.
Cons are that the War Machinist is completely irrelevant to the board state. So when you Replicator's Gambit it, you do get 1 card back, but you are still down overall -1 card. The other con is that your opponent, as soon as he sees the War Machinist, knows exactly what your game plan is and can attempt to prepare through it, either through counter magics or instant speed removal.
I mean,
those are the major cons.
There is one other deck that's playing War Machinist right now.
I mean, they're not going to know immediately until they see that Gambit. But there is that very aggressive dwarf artifact robot deck that obviously uses War Machinist.
A deck which I cannot play myself because I'm a total coward, but it is super strong.
Yes, it's very much an all-in deck. But yeah, so the War Machinist, as Fridge mentioned there, does have the drawback of, it doesn't, by itself, doesn't do anything. So it's a bad top deck late in the game. It's bad to have in your hand when you don't have Gambit, because that's the only thing you want it for is the Gambit target. So if you have it in your hand and you don't, say, you get really unlucky and you never see a Gambit throughout the whole game, well, that card's basically probably going to just chump block for you to try and buy some time, because you're probably going to need to if you're not, you know, you're not drawing well. But yeah, it just doesn't do anything by itself. It really needs the other, you know, the Gambit to actually make it shine in a Gambit deck, that is, of course. So let's move on over to, in my opinion, is one of the best targets for Gambit. It is the Blaze Elemental, which is created by Poker, the champion. So we'll have Nero talk about the pros and cons while we look at the video here.
So, Blaze Elemental is a 3-1 with speed that is created by Poker's charge power. The greatest benefit is probably the fact that you're not using a card you actually have. You're not wasting resources. It's coming out of a charge power. It is double ruby, so it does limit your threshold, but you could easily turn 3 this by basically doing a crackling bolt on your opponent's troop, using the elemental hitting in for 3. And then using your Gambit, putting it back in the deck. And you pretty much are going to win the turn you draw it, unless your opponent can block. Basically, they have to block one of them to live. But if you dealt the 3 the first time, now they have to block 2 of them, which is unlikely because you're able to use those turns in between to remove their troops. You are in a good chart pairing to do that. It's also a good troop with many other cards that are used in Ruby and Sapphire, and since it leaves play at the end of the turn, you're not really losing anything by gambiting it.
Thank you, Nero. So yeah, as Nero mentioned, you don't lose anything because it's going to leave play anyway, so it makes it the perfect opportunity, perfect troop to Gambit due to that. Let's just restart the video there. So you'll notice a few things here. We got Peak, which is pretty much a staple card in a Gambit deck, in a lot of Sapphire decks actually in general, especially Mono Sapphire, as it is a card that allows you to look at an X number of cards where X in your deck, where X is equal to the amount of Sapphire threshold you have. So we can see it being used here to grab the Blaze Elemental and then play it. Now we also have some good synergies here within our hand. So we saw at the end of the video is Time Ripple being used on the main Blaze Elemental. So say we weren't actually hitting in for Fatal, your opponent has enough blockers, you can actually send the main one back to your hand to then replay it and do it again the very next turn. But yeah, that's the Blaze Elemental, one of my favorite combos with the Gambit there, as there's really no downside. Now, if you are, as Nero mentioned, using some of those other cards like Mirror Knights, and, you know, well, let's just say Mirror Knight, because then, you know, it's not going to die. So you're not going to get the card draw from that, but in most cases, you're going to just want to Gambit it. Unless you do have more Gambit targets ready to go, you're generally going to want to make this one of your primary win conditions in the deck. Armies, did you have anything you want to add about the Blaze Elemental?
The other card it goes well with is really a Mentalist. That way, yeah, you get to draw cards even if you Gambit it after it attacks.
Yep, no, that is indeed true. So you can have the Mentalist inspire it to draw you a card on the first hit, then you could Gambit it, and so if you weren't using Mirror Knights, you can use a Mentalist potentially, get that effect. So that's a good one. Fridge, anything you would like to add about the Blaze Elemental?
Yeah, Nero really nailed it with that exposition there. A common camping question is, what is your desert island media of choice? And Super Troopers is a good choice, but I think my number one would be Nero Genius doing a reading of The Great Gatsby. It really tickles my oral G-spot. That is oral with an AU, perverts.
What is going on right now? All right, yeah, all right, let's just move on from the craziness that is Fridged, and we'll go to the Minari Sensei here. Now, this one, we're going to have 2 cards shown in the one video. We got the Minari Sensei and the Verdant Wilderbore. They both fit in the same deck, so we're going to have a video showing these off, and I'll just talk about these ones. So, in this deck, you know, you're in Sapphire Wild, so you got Minari Sensei. Here we already have one that has been pre-replicated. We have this one cooking in the oven. It's now ready to go. So you'll notice some cards in hand here. We got like Oakhenge Ceremony, much like Peak. It's one of those very much essential search cards when you're using Gambit, if you're in these colors. So we can see here Wildeboar being replicated. Now I could have hit in first there for 4 damage. That's an advantage of the Wildeboar. It has speed. That's what one of the things that makes it a good Gambit target. It's also 2 cost, so you can do it early. So you'll see that's now in the deck. Now here's Sensei coming into play with the Replicator's effect. We get to draw 7 cards, which is beautiful. While it's not something that's going to generally win you the game, I mean it could. The Sensei himself, but just the card draw you get is where you actually win. So you've got, in this deck specifically, a lot of ways to draw cards. You've got the Sensei, when you first play it, draws you a card. When you Gambit it, you draw another card, obviously. And you've got just a lot of ways to get that search going. Okenges, and so we'll see here, just getting rid of it, dumping a bunch of cards as we have too many now. But we got the Wildeboar from the Sensei there, so, you know, say you don't have the Wildeboar till later in the game, you can Gambit the Sensei. You know, say you then, as we saw, we then Gambit the Wildeboar later in the game. Play out the Sensei when you get that to then get to your primary win condition, that is the Wildeboar. So we see a Grelk there. Not going to stop the Sensei since they don't even matter. We've got the Wildeboar that's about to hit the board. It's much like the Blaze Elemental in the fact that it has speed, and it will still leave the board, but they will all become 8/8s, but generally they're going to win you the game. It is very tough to lose with this combination here once you get to play it, especially if it's early game. So the Wildeboar there, a lot of damage, which I believe should be fatal. Looks like I got a bit greedy here. Let's Gambit again! I mean, there is 3 Okenges in hand. So again, that's that card that lets you look at 5 cards within your deck and pick out a troop if there is one. Now, we don't get the Wildeboar that was Gambited, so we'll try again. Again, not the right Wildeboar, so we'll take that one. So will this last Okenge get us that dream? We don't need it, but why not? We get another Wildeboar, but it's again not the right one. But that's what Okenge does. You know, it does have the downside Okenge ceremony of having the potential to whiff, where you just get no troop. But you know, that's the potential is there pretty much always. But if you're running a deck with a lot of troops, that can help mitigate that chance. So we've got 2 cards there shown, the Sensei and the Wildeboar. Armies, is there anything you would like to mention about those 2 cards?
I think you covered all the main points.
Fridged?
I concur with armies.
So I'm assuming the same from you, Nero, but just in case.
We need some more plant love, just saying.
Yep, I can agree. So, yeah, that was the Sensei and the Wildeboar. So, again, the cons of the sorry, there's pretty much no cons to Sensei, except for the fact that while he doesn't do too much, you know, on the board himself, he replaces himself, so, you know, it helps thin the deck. There's not really much of a downside to using him in your deck, unless you are really struggling for room. But if you're doing a Gambit deck and you're in Sapphire Wild, then he's going to be something you'll want to include there. As while he draws you a card, which is what you want in a Gambit deck, drawing cards, he also gets inspired by Mirror Knight, but also is a Gambit target himself, as we saw in the video, can get you to the primary win conditions, such as the Wildeboar. So next up, we've got Brier Legion.
Nero, were you just paraphrasing Marvin Gaye when he said, "I need botanical healing"?
Oh, most definitely.
I am. Again, I don't know what's going on. But let's go on to the Brier Legion. So, the Brier Legion here, before we get to the video, we've also got Pack Raptor. These 2 work much the same. We're not going to show videos of both. I will show the alternate here of the Pack Raptor, as it is much nicer. But the Brier Legion...
Much bloodier and...
Yeah, it's very nice.
Yeah,
very nice.
it's just good. It's just good art.
Indeed it is. So we have the Brier Legion, which is a very... decent. I wouldn't say it's a very powerful Gambit target due to how it works. So basically, the way it does work is for every Brier Legion that you've played in a game. So if you play the first one, it's going to be a 2/2. The next one will be a 4/4. The previous one, any that are still in play, will also increase. So you play out. If you've played out 3, they'll all be 6/6s and so on. So you can just work out there the potential with Gambit. Obviously, is very nice. But it has some downsides, so let's get to the video here.
Wait, I have some insight.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so the original Pack Raptor art versus the AA Pack Raptor art. This is, everybody knows, I am a complete pop media junkie. Not everybody knows that, but we'll move on. The original Pack Raptor art is very light and fluffy and humorous, kind of like Jurassic Park 3 versus Jurassic Park 1. So in Jurassic Park 1, the dinosaurs were pretty much never played for laughs. They were completely sincere. Whereas in Jurassic Park 3, the dinosaurs were played for laughs, especially in Jurassic Park 3 all throughout, and at the end of Jurassic Park 2 when the gymnast kickflips the raptor. So I greatly prefer Jurassic Park 1 because the dinosaurs were always approached with complete sincerity and never played for laughs. So that's why the AA is about 6 times superior to the original art.
I am literally face-palming right now. Thanks for that wonderful insight there.
No problem, Havoc.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm so glad you are here today. So there's the Brier Legion combo going off. You can see we've got 7 18-18s on the board. Now, in this scenario here, we only have one resource open, so we can't actually save the main one with a time ripple if there was a possible extinction or something, which is pretty much probably the only thing that would really answer such a board state. You know, when you've got all dudes that by themselves are fatal. So that's what makes it good, but it has the downside of it doesn't have speed like you do with Wildeboars, Blaze Elemental, and so on. It doesn't have that immediate win effect like you have with the Machinist. And it also doesn't have the, you know, ability to bounce itself back to the hand like Buccaneer. But that's where, you know, a card like Time Ripple, you know, if you just wait a turn, or so, for example, if this was if you're playing against someone who's blood and they've got a possible extinction, you could wait till you can play it and have, say, a Time Ripple or a Verdict or a Counter Magic to protect the, and then that way you can just win with the next swing. Again, here I am getting greedy again with the Gambit on the main Gambit target. I don't know if I got it. Let's find out. With the Oakhenge Ceremony, it's again, if you're in Sapphire Wild, you need to be running Oakhenge Ceremonies in a Gambit deck. Very good card. You can also see their Mentor of Oakhenge, the troop that when it dies it creates an Oakhenge, so even more Oakhenges. But yeah, there's the fatal swing there of the Brier Legions. So let's go back to the cards here. But yeah, not you know, they've got the cons, as I said, with the, you know, it doesn't have speed. It's a little bit vulnerable, but if you play it right, you can, you know, if you got the counter or verdict, or even just a time ripple, so it's not too expensive as it is a 3-cost card. So say on turn 5 you get the card back, you could then play it out and have one of those open. So that's, you know, anything you guys would like to add, armies?
Nope.
Fridged? Which actually probably shouldn't go to Fridged anymore. He's crazy.
You know, we should not go to Fridged anymore.
Yeah, I mean, have you started drinking
well,
again?
I do have a deck to display later, and I've got some reactions to some things, but yeah, generally don't come to me when you want straightforward thoughts.
Alright, so we'll have a look now at some blood troops. We're going to look at Corpsefly and Priestess together. Now, Priestess is also a very, very good target for Gambit. You actually have seen Priestesses and Darkspire packages with Gambit in tournaments. I don't know of how recent, but that has been attempted to some success. So we'll have Nero talk about this video here, the pros and cons of the Corpsefly and the Darkspire Priestess.
So, one interesting thing about this combination is you're going into blood, so you're not running as many abilities to tutor your cards. The priestess itself, though, has a great ability to actually find other priestess, along with Darkspire Punisher. It works with extinction because you can basically extinction on your own board,
as we just saw.
Which, yeah, in many cases lets you win the game. It is partially RNG, but even if you don't, you get a whole bunch of troops back. You can run Call to Graves in a deck like this, Rise Against, different things with recursion. A Corpsefly is another value troop like Buccaneer. It doesn't directly affect the board, but it does make them discard a card, so it doesn't set you back as much. It's a 2/1 flyer, so with that evasion, it does make it a legitimate threat, because if you do have enough of them, you can attack through in the air. So both of them are fine targets. Obviously the better one though is Priestess, because of the ability to search. And since you're pairing with Sapphire, you can do things like Mirror Knight and get other sack outlets in there and just go crazy. You don't even have to even play your Gambit, and you could probably still win with this deck.
Yeah, just intervening for a second here before Nero continues on. When Havoc asked us to submit deck lists, he said, please don't submit a Darkspire deck list because Armies has already done that, and I just could not bring myself to do that because I am one of the big advocates of consistency is king, and Darkspire is, in my opinion, the absolute best Gambit target because it does allow you to search for it so easily on a coin flip. I am just a huge fan of consistency in general. So thank you, Nero, for explaining that very well, and I will bring it back over to you.
All right, well, I'm just going to jump in and say here we're seeing the Corpse Flyer effect here. So we're actually seeing Isengard lose his entire hand. So as he's losing 7 cards, which is all he had. So now he actually, you know, the good thing about the Corpse Flyer here as a target is, you know, it removes your opponent's entire hand, so they actually have to top deck the answer. So, you know, that's a great thing there about that. We also now see the Priestess coming down. So Nero, yeah, continue.
I think it's pretty much all covered, unless you guys have anything else to say.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. Yeah, you got the Tudor effects with the Priestess, you know, which works with the Darkspire Priestess, the Punisher, even a Tyrant if you're running that as, like, say, a one-of. But just, we're about to see here the synergy with Extinction. You can just blow up your whole board state at this point. Not that we need to. We can obviously just attack in, but just for example purposes, if the Priestess wasn't enough to get through your opponent for some crazy way, they have way too many troops on the board, which maybe they're running Gambit as well, so you can't actually attack in. You can actually just, you know, due to the 50-50 chance of it, when a Priestess dies, it does 3 damage to your opponent. You can just blow them all up with an Extinction, as we're about to see. So we're going to destroy everything on the board and see if we can do 18 damage, which the odds are pretty high. So first up, we get a few searches there. Well, we get some damage.
I imagine right now, Corpsefly is saying, I can't carry the ring, Frodo, but I can carry you.
So, that was enough damage.
Carried.
Here we go. So, as we saw, didn't even need to swing. Once you've got enough of those out, you know, we did double Gambit, to be fair. So it was a lot of Darkspire Priestesses on the board. In most cases, depending on how you've done early game, if you've pushed damage through, having 7 on the board, you can still, you know, you might not get enough damage, but, you know, it's still a bit iffy to do it on just 7 with an Extinction. But you will get more troops, you know, you'll keep getting more, so you'll generally still come out ahead there. Armies, anything you'd like to mention about the Darkspire and Corpsefly?
They are great targets. The main thing with like Corpsefly is that you're going pretty heavy into blood for double threshold cards, so you might get a few more resource screws than if you're playing the Ruby Sapphire or the Sapphire Wild versions. It's a very small downside, but it is a downside that you have to consider when building your deck.
Thank you for that. All right, so we got again, the Pack Raptor works much the same as Brier Legion in terms of the fact that they will all buff each other, and you'll have some pretty big Swift Strike. No, we're not up to that yet. Calm down. Gonna have to wait.
I jumped the gun. I jumped the gun.
Keep your pants on.
Apologies all around.
It's all right. It's all right. So your Pack Raptor again, you know, works much. It has some downsides though, as you will flood your deck with normal Pack Raptors, even when using the first one. So it actually does. It's something you can use a card like Dream Dance with, which we'll see in a minute. Aesthetic Aspirant. I mean, this guy, we could probably do a whole episode on him potentially, but you know, he's something that you can use with Gambit as when he is transformed into. He goes from Enlightened Seeker to the Transcendent, I think is the name, or Transcended. Which, you know, when you draw a card, he allows you to pick whichever card in your deck you like and put it into your hand. So obviously something that works very nice with Replicator's Gambit, being able to grab that Gambited target. So you could use, for example, a good combo that people used back in set 1 was to use the Ancestors Chosen with Aesthetic Aspirant. You can then grab your Spectres, which are troops that the Chosen makes at the start of your turn. They're 2/2 flyers for 1. that draw a card on entering play. So very extremely powerful troop by itself. Being able to grab it at will with the aspirant, put it into hand, and Gambit it, for example, and then grab the Gambited target immediately and play it, and then draw another 7 cards at will. I mean, it just you goes off the hook basically once you get that combo online. But you need to protect the aspirant, which you can use things like Soul Marble with and stuff like that. But yeah, that's majority of set 1 cards there that we feel are the better choices if you're wanting to make a Gambit deck. You've got the Blaze Elemental, Machinist, Buccaneer. They all fit in the same deck. I mean, a lot of these things you can fit in the same deck, but they're the set 1 cards. Let's go now to some set 2 cards. We're going to also see... Oh, sorry, no, we're going to look at the actions first. My bad. So these are some actions that you can... Now, we've already seen Peak. We've seen Oakhenge Ceremony. We've seen the Time Ripple. You got Oracle Song, card draw, obviously very relevant when it comes to Replicator's Gambit. And we've got some other ones here that we've, that you could experiment with. I did just mention Dream Dance, so let's see what this one does here. So troops in your deck get, when this enters play, draw a card, then choose and discard a card. So that's something you could use with a Pack Raptor deck if you liked. It's a way to filter through your deck to get to your primary targets.
It's important to note that it does not make any new generated troops, as Pack Raptor generates a lot of troops.
Yeah.
Get that Dream Dance ability. So it is sort of a nombo there.
Yeah.
Nombo being a combination of words, not and combo.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Pack Raptor myself, just in general. Not. It's yeah. I just don't like Pack Raptor that much. But Dream Dance is something you could experiment with in a Gambit deck. We got Counter Magic. You want that protection there. Call of the Grave, as Nero's already mentioned, you can use in a Blood Sapphire deck. If you get milled, you can get your troop back out of the grave to then play it. If you blow up your priestesses and you need another one to then have it die to then again try get that search, Call of the Grave can fit in there nicely. Yesterday can fit rather okay in some of the decks where you've got things like Sensei, Buccaneer, and the like. Sending everything back to hand so they can stop you from dying. And also allow you to use those interplay effects again. Infernal Professor, just you could potentially use this. It does. It's all RNG based. Just as an example, there you could try it out. Mimic is also not too bad. You could potentially use that on, say, a Darkspire, just a Priestess, for example, to make sure you've got another one. The double threshold makes it a bit iffy in that example, but that's something you could potentially use. But the main ones, if you're running a Gambit deck, you're going to want to have peaks generally, especially if you're doing Mono Sapphire. Oakhenge Ceremony if you're in Wild. Time Ripple's a good one, again, because you can bounce back that Gambited troop that you've just played if they try and wipe the board, or just to make sure you can do it again and kill them that turn, if it's a speed troop, for example. So that's the actions. Armies, anything you would like to mention about these actions we see here?
Counter Magic is a pretty important part of all the Gambit decks, especially with the amount of verdicts and counter magics being played in the current meta by other people. You want to be able to protect your Gambits and your Gambited targets. Indeed.
Fridge, anything you would like to add about these actions?
Just a general plea to the community not to run Infernal Professor and 6+ cost troops in the same deck, or you will end up like my opponent in a certain draft, where you draw Urnaz off your Infernal Professor and just die.
Nice. Nero, anything you would like to mention about these?
I'm eating cookies, but yeah, Infernal Professor is probably the worst one.
Can I have a cookie?
I agree, Infernal Professor.
Well, you have cake.
I mean,
email me a cookie.
I want cookies now. I want cookies. All right, so that's some set 1 actions there. I mean, the ones that you really need to, Counter Magic is pretty essential. You've also got Verdict from set 2, which, well, we'll see that later. But here's some set 2 troops. We've also got the Mirror Knight from set 1 there. Just again, that's something you'll see a lot of in Gambit decks, as it does synergize very well. I mean, again, that's another card we could do a whole episode on, so we're not going to go over him, but that's something you'll probably want to have in your Gambit decks. But in terms of set 2 troops, we've got some examples here. Some of these are a bit more cute and just for fun, but the main ones are okay. you know, Archon of Nolzan is pretty much something that just wants you to use it with Gambit. I mean, the high cost makes it a bit iffy, but let's have a look at a video here, and we'll have Nero talk about the pros and cons and how Archon works. Sorry, I probably shouldn't have got you to explain this one since you're eating cookies, but too bad. Ha ha ha!
You want me to put down my cookies? Alright.
Put down that cookie.
So, Archon of Nolzan is actually very interesting, because if you have 2 in your hand, and you play 1 and then Gambit it, its ability lets you put the non-gambited one back in your deck and retrieve the exact one you want, which is most likely going to be the one that has the Gambit text on it. So it's another one of those consistent abilities that let you get your Gambit targets. It is the most expensive out of all Gambit targets though, so it can be a little dangerous, because you basically have to get to turn 7 in order to even do anything. But if you can get there, it is another one of those instant win targets. It's also an artifact, so it can't be hit by murder, so it's very limited by the quick action responses to it. Some people splash wild so that they can do spell shield for other things, but you could also just easily use the quick gem, so you do it at your opponent's in phase. That's actually what I recommend and stay Ruby Sapphire for a card like this. You're basically gonna do damage on interplay, the Ruby Gem of Destruction, and it's gonna basically kill them when all of them come out.
Thank you, Nero. So we saw the Archon being gambited, and then immediately actually redrawing the same Archon. So not getting to show off the ability it has, its ability to throw one back into your deck to grab a different one. As we got extremely lucky there, which sometimes happens, and you're always happy to have that happen, especially if you're doing War Machinist. Get that immediately after gambiting is always something you're happy to see, but we see it here with the Archon, and again, we're using damage on into play, and I believe quick action. With the quick action there on Archon, it actually does allow you to... so you got damage and quick, so what you could do is your opponent's attacking in, and because it's late in the game, you could actually be under some pressure, so you could then play this out as a quick troop and then block something, as it is a pretty good body as a 4/4. Won't be able to stop a flyer though with this example. You could do flight and quick if you know, as a sideboard option, like if you're up against a lot of flyers, but you know, it's I forgot what I was going to say. But yeah, basically you've got the quick action there, so you can block something, then Gambit at the next turn, or on your turn, I should say, and go from there. You know, and hopefully you've got another one in hand, or in the case of the video there, just draw it off the top and kill your opponent with that 4 damage from each one entering play. So, Armies, anything you'd like to mention about the Archon of Nolzan?
It's quite slow, so that's pretty much the main thing with it, is your deck needs to be able to live through an aggro deck.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, I mean, that is obviously its biggest con, just being so expensive. So you may, I think it's been run before. I think we actually might have seen Mythic Fishmom use it before in a Blood Sapphire. It might have even been Blood Sapphire Mill on the Archon, as that's another way you can just mill your opponent with this guy with all the copies. I think we've seen him do that before. But yeah, being very slow, you really need to be controlling the game, so that's where Extinction can help out. But that is its biggest downside. The upside, obviously, is you generally will win when you re-get it, and it does have the ability to search it, as we see here on the card itself. You can pay 2.
We hates it, precious.
What? So you pay 2.
No, I just really hate that combo. Yeah, I do.
I mean,
don't think
yeah.
Archon of Nolzan belongs anywhere near Replicator's Gambit.
I mean, fair enough. So that's your comment then? Anything else you want to add there, Fridged?
Just a brief general aside about synergy. I think that you can find synergy even in the weakest of cards. Like, for example, Burrow Bunny, a 4/1, probably one of the worst stat lines in all of set 2. And when it comes out with a launchpad alongside it, it follows the first in last out rule. So first your Burrow Bunny comes out, then it becomes a 5/2 flyer. So you can find synergy in the least likeliest of cards, and you should always be thinking about, how do my cards combo with any other card I have, particularly when you're drafting.
Yeah, and that's another thing you would have seen earlier on the pros and cons sheet when we first introduced Gambit, is that one of its pros is it is a very good card in Limited. Sadly, that is going to be something that's not going to be possible once we get set 3. You're not going to be seeing any more Gambits in Limited, of course. But we got another example here. Again, a lot of these are just, there's cute examples, a bit of fun. As a Fate Sorceress, it's not really something you'd use as a primary target, but it has the flexibility in being a double-socketed troop. So you could have that damage and enter play, plus a quick action again. So it's not too expensive, and it will, if you do play it, it will keep, I believe it will inspire each one, so you just do crazy amounts of damage. You've got Field Tactician here, which we got a video, so we'll go into that. And we'll have armies talk about the Field Tactician as a troop. It's not a great one, but it's not bad either. So armies, take it away.
Well, Field Tactician is a 2/1 for 2 in Sapphire. It has a one-shot that lets you exhaust a troop, so it can slow down aggro decks, and it's generally not what you would normally Gambit, but in a pinch you could definitely Gambit it, and if you get it back it can slow down an aggro deck or just kill them, because you can basically exhaust their whole team when they go to attack step. Next turn you get to swing in against no blockers and kill them.
Yep, so as armies mentioned, it's not really something you would use as a primary Gambit target, but still can be fairly strong in its own ways due to that one-shot effect going to be on all the copies of the card as we see here, a lot of them on the board.
The tempo of Field Tactician is very good, so it's definitely a constructed playable card, and it makes a nice backup plan. It's always important to have backup plans in every deck you run, because you will have awkward draws on average in every single match that you play.
Yeah, that's an important point you bring up there, is when you're making a Gambit deck, you really need to make sure you've got a primary, maybe you got 1 or 2 primary troops that you want to Gambit. That if you get this, you're going to do it. But then you want to also have some backups. You don't want to just run, you definitely don't want to run just 4 of a troop that is your Gambit target, because then you're going to be in situations where you just don't have it. So you need to have, I would say at least a minimum of 8. You 4 and 4 of, say, 2 different troops. But generally you're going to want to have even more than that. So in the case of some of the cards we've seen already, in the Sapphire Wild deck, we saw the Wilderball, we saw the Sensei. You could also have Buccaneer in there as well, so that's already 12 cards as potential Gambit targets. In Sapphire Ruby, again, you've got Buccaneer, you've got Blaze Elemental, you've got other, you could even throw in some Field Tacticians if you like, and have that as a backup target. So that's really important in a Gambit deck, to make sure you're always going to have a target, so that the Gambit in your hand is going to be used ASAP, basically. So we see the Field Tactician here.
Did you guys see my Skype message?
What's he doing now? What craziness is he up to?
Just don't read it aloud. Just read it.
All right. So we see the Field Tactician there. Obviously, tap down the 2 troops, and if there was more, we'd be able to tap down a lot more. Basically, it's like a storm call for just off these troops. You can tap down all troops and attack in for fatal. So that was the Field Tactician there. We're not going to show videos of all these. Again, most of them are just cute examples. So, armies, anything you'd like to mention about any of these cards in particular?
The Carnosaurus from set 3 is a pretty new target for the Gambit deck. It gives the Wild Sapphire another removal tempo kind of creature, and this one can gain you a remarkable amount of life when you Gambit it and replay it.
Yeah, it's definitely, when I saw this and we decided that Gambit was going to be our card for the first episode, I was like, hey, you know what? In set 3, we've actually already got a really good target, which is Carnosaurus. As Armies mentioned, you will be able to, you can use it the first time you play the troop. You can very likely eat something like a Mirror Knight, a Cloud, a Storm Cloud, or something like that, and keep this around. Then you could Gambit it, and when you do replay it, they can all battle pretty much anything, and just you'll gain a lot of health. It's a bit iffy on how exactly that will work.
Even
but...
if you can't battle something, it's just a fantastic stall card,
yeah.
which is something the Gambit decks need. So you don't have to pay attention so much to the first line, but that it's a great 2-drop that stalls, which is completely on plan for a Gambit deck.
Yeah. Yeah, so say your opponent had, let's say they had just one troop. Now, I believe if you had all of them Gambit that one troop, I think when it dies, you'll stop, the battles will just cancel out for any, for the ones where it's already dead. I think that's the case. And Armies, do you know if that's correct?
Yeah, if the target is dead, the triggers won't resolve.
Yeah, but you'll still gain some health, and because because they're all in play at the same time, even if one battle goes off, you would still gain, 14 health, I believe? I'm not actually too sure.
The first fight is 14, the second is... The first fight is 14, the second fight, assuming that the first one that's fighting something died in the fight, like you're fighting a really big creature, you would then gain 12, and then 10, and then 8 until the creature's dead and run out of things to fight.
Yeah, so okay, Fridge, what would you like to say?
Now is it time for decklists?
Almost, buddy. Keep your pants on. Alright, so, Carnosaurus, I'm actually looking forward to this card, and I probably will have a bit of fun with it with Gambit. But yeah, very, very cool card. Can't wait to, obviously, get set 3. So some of the other cards here, again, these are just some examples of things you could use with Gambit. Like Unicorn, for example, you could Gambit it, and when you replay it, you've actually got the protection inbuilt with the Unicorn, so you can actually just sacrifice one of them to keep them all alive from an extinction, for example. So that's pretty cool in that regard. Messenger is actually one that is one of the good ones from set 2 that you can add to that Sapphire Ruby, Sapphire Wild, or Sapphire Blood deck. You can add it to any of those Gambit decks and as a backup, because you can use it to block out, say, a Vampire King or an Angel, things you see in the meta that are dangerous in the skies. You could block, draw a card, and it's done its job. But if your opponent's running control deck, for example, you could potentially just Gambit this, and when you do re-get it, you'll have then 7 troops on the board that when they leave play, draw you cards. So much like the Sensei, but in reverse, but also has the benefit of being a flyer, so you can, again, block those cards that are seen in the meta. Stink Troll works very similar to, again, Pack Raptor and Brier Legion in the fact that you can give that one-shot ability to all the different Stink Trolls, passing that around, and then they all buff each other, and you'll have some pretty big Stink Trolls. Electroid, another decent one. If you're for example, you've top decked an Electroid after getting wiped, your board's been wiped, the Electroid's not going to do you anything, and if you did, say, have a Gambit, you could then Gambit that, and replaying it would then allow all those Electroids to be online and swing in potentially. So, some examples of some set 2 troops there, and even a set 3 one. So let's see what's up next here. I think we have... Oh, look at that, Fridge. Did some decklists.
There is one other set 3 target that we're looking forward to Gambit.
Sorry, go ahead there, Armies. Another set 3 card. Do you want to mention? Go ahead.
Yeah, the Exarch of the Egg, the 100 Egg Dream.
Yeah, the 100 Egg Dream. Yep, that's definitely something. I don't have the card ready to pull up, but yeah, that's a 1/3 troop with lethal. And when it enters play, it creates, I believe it is 2 eggs, and for every venom that enters play after that, it creates 2 eggs. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Right.
So each of the 7, when you Gambit them, will make 14, and if you count the original 2 from playing it before you Gambited it, it adds up to 100 eggs.
Yeah, that's a lot of eggs. And then, if you have that new card that was recently revealed that doubles all the eggs in a deck, that's a lot of eggs. I mean, I can't wait to make a towering deck of eggs, basically, that fly off the screen. Just keep doubling up their deck full of eggs and just fly, off the screen. Probably crash Hex at some point, but yeah, definitely that's more of a cute combo. But maybe that'll actually be something with some other cards in there as well in the mix. But let's get to the deck list here. So Fridge has been waiting. First up, we're going to have a look at the one I've created here, which is Gambit Machine 3.0. I went away from going from tricolor. I thought I'll stick with consistency. That's what I've been doing lately when it comes to constructed decks. I've been more about consistency than you know, Shards don't agree with me. Let's put it that way. So Sapphire Ruby is the deck.
It may have made you the most hated person in all of HEX currently.
I mean, possibly. He's referring to the fact that the Mono Sapphire restack there. Yeah. I mean, some people love me for it, some people hate me for it. You know, you can't please everyone. But yeah, so here we have the Gambit Machine 3.0. It is Ruby Sapphire. So you obviously got the 4 Gambits. Again, we've got Peak, we've got 3 Ripples, 4 Counter Magic, so you got that protection there. I've added in Mirror Knight, so there's another way to get that card draw, which combos very nicely with Royal Falconer. Again, we could do a whole episode on Mirror Knight, as it's an amazing card, and very, very, very highly synergizes with the Royal Falconer there, as he makes 3 troops, all that get inspired by the Mirror Knight. So a lot of card draw when they die. We've also got the Messengers in there as a backup Gambit target. We've got Buccaneers as one of the primaries. We've got the Poker Charge Power as one of the primaries as well. So a lot of targets there. We've also got, you know, a lot of actions. So we add in some Renlocks, which we have 3 of, which combos with actions. You know, every time you play an action, you draw a card. We've also got Zodiac Divination, a couple of those for some more card draw. So it runs, 24 shards. And then the reserves, you know, got things like Heatwave, which you can actually use. Like, say you've played out Mirror Knight, you've got a pretty good board state, and your opponent's just holding back. You could actually just Heatwave your own board state and theirs to then draw a bunch of cards to get to your win condition, which is your Gambit target. So you could use it in that regard. We've got a couple of Verdicts there for some more protection, more answers as well. One off Mimic, just because why not? Some Crackling Bolts for some more answers. A one-off Dream Dance, which maybe actually on second thought is not the best. Not really. It doesn't really fit too well in this deck, to be honest. But I just put it there as an option. 2 Grauks, it's a nice card, and we got 3 Dreamers there for some card draw as well. So that's my deck. You know, it's pretty fun, pretty consistent too. You know, and being Ruby Sapphire with primary Sapphire because of the peak, you want to have more Sapphires. You know, if you've got 1 Ruby, that's all you need. No, sorry, you only need 2 Rubies, and then from there, you can use your Shards of Innovation, for example, on Sapphires to make those peaks more valuable. So yeah, that's the deck. Yeah, have fun with it. Let's check out the next one, which is Army's deck. So Army's, take it away.
Okay, this is a control-ish kind of deck after board. So if you're going up against a heavy aggro deck and your Gambit target isn't going to be fast enough, you could move into a more controlling deck after the board. But this deck is ideally going to be playing against other control decks so that you can just delay the game and win with your value troops. We play 4 Gambit because obviously it's a Gambit deck and we want all the Gambits to call the grave to bring back our troops like Buccaneer, Darkspire Priestess, Giant Corpse Fly, or even anything our opponent might be playing in Blood and Sapphire. We've got 1 Verdict, 3 Counter Magic, because we have to be able to fight over the important spells and protect our Gambited cards. 4 Darkspire Priestess as one of our main targets to Gambit. 4 Cerulean Mirror Knights to help us draw cards to thin out our deck so we can get our Gambit targets. 3 Buccaneers, 3 Giant Corpse Fly. Those are our other important Gambit targets. As they delay the game, can block flight, bounce back to the most important cards. We have 4 Zentos Inquisitor with the major gem of Brutality to, again, stall the game. It's a pseudo removal. And in a pinch, you can Gambit it to shrink your opponent's entire field and have a handful of Inquisitors for the entire game. We have 4 Eldritch Dreamers with the draw card gem, and 4 Archon of Milzon with Quick and Mill as the final Gambit target to potentially win the game that way. We're playing 24 Shards, though I was considering going up to 25, so you can play test it and decide for yourself. And the reserves, like I said, is to move to a more controlling deck. We have 4 Extinctions, 2 Murders, 1 Counter Magic, 2 Verdict, 4 Storm Cloud, and 2 Monsoon.
Nice. So you actually mentioned Dreamer with card draw, was it? Because I guess we put the wrong gem there. We got Major Cruelty, which is not correct.
The Cruelty. I think I had a 2-2 split, but you could run either one. They're both good gems.
Yep. All right, that's cool. Yep, that's Army's deck there. Let's move on to the next one. Again, feel free to try these out and change them at your leisure for those of you watching. And now next up we've got Fridged. He's been waiting to talk about it, I guess. So his deck is called...
Sorry, could you move on to Nero's deck since Armies and I are a bit similar? So move on to Nero's deck and then go back to mine.
You could just mention the stuff that is differentiated. You know, it's different.
There's a lot of stuff different. I just want to break it up with some palette cleanser in Nero's deck.
Talk now. Right. You wanted the deck list. Go. Do it.
I'm talking. So I'll go over the deck list here. It's got obviously 4 Replicators Gambit. That is absolutely key. So this Gambit deck list is kind of an example of the precarious gregariousness with which I approach inconsistent decks like Gambit. I prefer to have fun with it because I play a lot of Proving Grounds, and Hop Hero has been absolutely my favorite Proving Grounds card. It's just so much fun to play with, and it makes a great backup plan. We talked about a backup plan earlier with regards to having a bad draw, and Hop Hero really combos well with a lot of cards in this deck. He combos well with the Dark Spires because you get to either attack your opponent's hand life total or get more fuel for Hop Hero. And there are some decks, once you have an active Hop Hero, they just have absolutely no answer, particularly when you have what I consider the key to this deck, the 4 Call the Graves. Now, Call the Grave works very well against counter magic in that your opponent thinks that he has you on the ropes, he thinks that he's countering your plan, and then you just do it again, turn after turn after turn. So I have the Extinctions to reset the board when I'm in trouble. I have the Mirror Knight, Darkspire combo to... Now, one thing this deck actually kind of lacks is great Gambit targets. You're really kind of hoping to either Gambit, Priestess, or Tyrant, and there's a reason that there's only 1 Tyrant in this deck, and that is because of the 4 Call to Graves. Generally, I'm an advocate in a Darkspire deck of running 2 Tyrants, but in this deck, it is not necessary. Now, it's got the removal to stall your opponent when your plan is not going off perfectly, and it's got a very eclectic group of cards, which at the outset do not look like they work together beautifully, but when you start to play it, you will realize that you're actually having fun playing No Stakes Hex. And we have the reserves. Good players don't need reserves. Now, that is not entirely true, but there was a reason that I did not run reserves in the tournament that I won. And there's Havoc calling me
It's because he's lazy. It's because he's lazy.
Yeah,
don't let him trick you.
It's not because I'm lazy. I'm just willing to go very far to prove a point, which is that people sometimes over sideboard. They do not understand that their main deck is going towards a very specific plan, and if you're taking out 6, 7, 8 cards a game and bringing in 8 new cards, you are extremely hurting your main deck's main plan. So pay very close attention to what cards you put in your reserves. I'm not saying don't run a reserves. I would never advocate that. I would just say that people in general do not respect their main deck's game plan enough when it comes to reserves. And I also have a story. When we were first recording this, we did a very good job, and Havoc got a phone call and then immediately dropped out. And Army said, oh, it's probably because he got the phone call. And I said, no, there's no way that ever happened. Not in After Christian Era 2015. And then Havoc comes back about 10 minutes later. And he's like, I'm sorry, the phone call dropped me. So we can confirm that Havoc is in fact Gilligan. Marianne gave him a tingling on the coconut phone. And everything fell to pieces.
Stop picking on me. On. Oh, it's so cruel. So cruel. My crappy internet. Oh, well, what can I do? But one thing I will mention there about your deck is you actually do have the Phoenix Guard Messenger, so you do actually have a backup target. But yeah, as I did say when I talked about mine, it has I generally like to have a lot of Gambit targets, so you're not having a dead Gambit in hand.
It's not
But yours
a
is not too bad.
competitive deck
But,
list.
no, I know.
but
Yours
it's
is
a
more about fun.
resilient one. It's a resilient one.
Alrighty, so that's Fridge's deck there. We need a hero. Having some fun there with Hop Hero Samurai. So let's have a look at Nero's deck. So Nero, take it away.
So now I feel bad because we all went Blood Sapphire.
I told you guys not to.
Originally, I thought Armies was gonna do Archon, and they would like the classic Archon, but whatever. I like the AAs you put on there. So I'm only running 3 Gambits, because in a deck like this you really only need to play 1 to win the game. But basically the main target is going to be the Darkspire Priestess and Buccaneer. There's also, if you really want to, you can use it on a Mirror Knight if you think you're going to get board wiped or something. You could save your Mirror Knight. And Bertram's the other option. The Worker Bot it creates is a good wall, and it's basically going to let you draw a card. The charge power is also there because it lets you defend against aggressive decks. There's one of Reese in the deck because, once again, it's a defensive wall. If you hard cast it, it's going to make 1/1 bodies. If you tunnel it, it becomes another win con for the deck. If I had to go through this deck again, I would take out 1 Punisher because 4 Punishers is too much. When I was going through the deck, I was like, yeah, this is good, this is good, this is good. And then I started whittling down until I had 60 cards, and that's when I did not notice when I was doing that process. But to go through it card by card, 3 Gambits, I don't see a need for 4, it gets too clunky. Just waste space in your hand. 2 Pact of Pains to draw cards. He's conversion for a sack outlet. He's with Pact of Pain also, so you can just keep drawing cards. 1 Born to Die, because you get in that position where you need to do 1 or 2 damage, and you just can't rely on the Punisher or Priestess to RNG correctly for you. The Recall to Grave just to get back all those targets again. 4 Extinctions as another way to kill things, and because your opponent has troops too. 3 Verdicts to protect your Gambits and your Gambit targets. 4 Mirror Knights to draw a lot of cards from all the sacking. 4 Priestess, of course, is the win con. 4 Punishers, which would probably only be 3. 4 Buccaneers as another win con. 1 Tyrant, because might as well, I mean, it wins the game, right? And 1 Reese, which could be 2 Reese, so 3 Punisher instead. For the Shards, 11-9 split is what I did. The Sapphire single threshold, 4 Shard of Cunning also, so there we go. I actually didn't have reserves either, so this was kinda improvised, so I apologize for the reserves.
Alright, good stuff. So yeah, the reserves there. Yeah, I think we all just said, let's just put these in there. So we all did that sort of together, or a couple of us did, I think. But yeah, that's Nero's deck there. So we had three of the guys there going with Blood Sapphire Gambit decks. I stuck with Ruby Sapphire, which has been my go-to combination when it comes to Gambit decks for the most part. And obviously some people may remember from Sat 1 the tricolor version, which also included Wild. But yeah, with the introduction of some Set 2 cards, specifically Messenger, that actually basically took a bit of the, because mainly you in the tricolor version anyway, you would go into Wild for Sensei and Okenge for the most part. So you might as well go for more consistency and add in the Messenger there. So yeah, that's the decks. Have some fun with those guys. Fellow hexes.
I would say that out of all of us and the hex community at large, Havoc has put the most thought and effort into Replicator's Gambit as a real card, and you could definitely do worse than aping him when it comes to Replicator's Gambit deck building. He's quite a few lists out there.
Yep. All right. So that's the deck lists. Hope you guys like them. Now, what do we got next? I'm not even sure. Let's find out. Let's find out. All right. Come on. I'm clicking. Here we go. Oh, what's this? Spoiler alert. Well, I guess if you do not want to see this spoiler, look away now. Yep. Look away now if you do not want to see this spoiler. Here it comes. Oh, look at this guy. Oh, what'd you say? Need an adult, did you say?
I need an adult.
Yeah, you always say the perfect thing.
Yeah. All right. So Nero, I'll let you introduce this card. Everyone loves your sexy voice, so go ahead, talk about it.
Oh wow. Well, why do I have to do all this? Whatever. Okay.
You want to
So,
eat your cookies, don't
it
you?
is obviously. Yes, I'd prefer to eat my cookies, but I'll read because I guess it's part of the process. So it is the Golden Avenger, a diamond 5 cost troop, double diamond threshold. It is of the type or trait hero or class. I don't know exactly which one that is, and it's unique and it's a legendary. So we got a legendary, awesome. And it's got Flight and Swift Strike. When Golden Avenger dies, revert it, then create a mask of the Avenger and put it into your hand. It's I don't know if I said it's a 4/4, but whatever. So the mask, it's a 2 cost, double diamond threshold, basic action, transform target troop you control into Golden Avenger, which is quite awesome, especially when you have things like Bertram Power and Sapphire Diamond or other little troops. So every turn you could basically get him back. His flavor text is also pretty cool because all angels, they're called avatars, and all avatars are associated with a primal also. So you have the Avatar of Hope. So this avatar does not have a primal. That's how awesome he is. He's like, I don't need one. I'm good enough on my own.
So I'll actually read out the flavor text here. So it's no primal claims the Avenger as an avatar. If the mask were torn away, what manner of creature would be revealed? So that is the flavor text. I mean, the artwork on this card is awesome. I mean, look at how gigantic this beast of a hero is. Yeah, just really awesome artwork. Really love the card. Definitely going to see play in competitive, I feel. And obviously it's going to see play in limited.
Reminds me of
limited
the last
bomb
boss of
all
Star
day.
Fox 64.
I have no idea what you're referring to there, but okay. So, yeah, the Mask of the Avenger here. I mean, the episode is about Gambit, so I'll just mention this guy with a Gambit. As a Gambit target, not that you would generally use something like this as a Gambit target, but if you were to do so, and he was to die, like they will get extinction, you would then have a lot of masks in hand. So you'd probably be in a situation like, why can't I hold all these masks? But yeah, really good card, really good card. Actually, the flavor text here on the mask as well is, I may fall, but justice never dies. So, yeah, Armies, what do you think about this card?
I think it's got great stats. It basically beats any non-dragon flight troop from set 1 and set 2 that's seen play. Meaning like Vampire Kings, Angel of Dawns, and that kind of thing.
Yep.
So it's got good stats. It is kind of not the greatest card against like the mono Sapphire decks because you can just bounce it because it doesn't have any kind of protection. Even if they do manage to kill it somehow, which mono Sapphire pretty much can't do, they would just be able to verdict your mask likely. So I don't think it's very good against the Sapphire decks, but I think it would be a good preserves card against like the Blood Diamond control decks and anything with Terrorantulas.
Yep. Fridge, anything you'd like to mention? What are your thoughts? Oh, what?
I'm sorry, folks. Skip another 20 seconds ahead if you don't want to see the same thing I see. I just look at that art for Mask of the Avenger. Look at that luxurious mustache. I can see the headline now. Complete idiot. Forgets the shave area between mouth and nose. I'm so sorry for that brain poison. So, yes, as Army said, it is a basic action. It is much worse than a quick action, so you have to be prepared for the fact that this card is not going to be good in all situations.
All right, that's all you have to say. All right, so Nero, any closing comments
Yep.
you would like to make about this spoiler?
Just happy we got to do a legendary, and it definitely looks like it could be like 1 or 2 of in any diamond deck that people play. I think it's pretty fun looking.
Yep, I agree with you there. So that about wraps it up. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed the episode. Stay tuned after the credits. as there is some information there you'll want to probably see. But I think that's all we have for today. Again, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks to the Hexperts here, Armies, Frigid, and Neurogenus. So, yeah.
Really good job, everybody. I feel closer to all of you now.
Hey, what's that touching me? Alrighty, so let's roll the credits. Thanks again, guys. Let's get some music going here. But again, stay tuned. Keep watching after the credits here.
Bye.